So in C40's own words, C40 Cities is a global network of nearly 100 mayors of the world's leading cities that are united in action to confront the climate crisis. What science and what data are they relying on, you might rightly ask. In July of 2020, the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group published a framework for cities to build back better using the 15-minute concept. So what is a 15-minute city? Yes, please. A 15-minute city is described as a city reorganised into distinct commutable districts. A district is a geographical region where all necessary amenities are available within 15 minutes of walking, biking or public transport to minimise travel. The purpose of a 15-minute city is related to the ability to provide immediate response to one or more crises. This implies the city is equipped with policy and tools that can monitor and control specific aspects of infrastructure and civil activity. 15-minute cities and smart cities, as well as other initiatives, including the relocation of those living in urban environments, are an implementation satisfying a high-level framework proposed by the United Nations. This framework is called Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 is a plan of action containing 17 Sustainable Development Goals, we just heard of, and 169 targets. It is a declaration by UN members to radically transform economic, social and environmental policy under a unified, idealised or ideological vision. And through C40 we have mayors of cities all around the world all working to the same targets and guidelines as to how they are going to reduce the impact of climate change and global warming over the next decade through these smart and 15-minute cities. Here we have Sadiq Khan. He's the Mayor of London and is also the C40 Chair, which might be why he is pushing the expansion of ultra-low emission zones, or ULEZ, even in the face of so much opposition. If he fails in the implementation and expansion of ULEZ in London, then he will have failed in terms of the C40 goals, which includes the agenda for zero car ownership by 2030. In his words, the city uses the necessary financial, regulatory and other tools at their disposal to address the climate crisis. That translates to they are going to tax and fine Londoners out of their cars and regulate their personal freedoms out of existence. So this is what C40 says. They're discouraging private car use through road pricing and driving and parking restrictions. And they're making private vehicle use more expensive or inconvenient. It is essential to driving a modal shift. Current car ownership in the UK is 594 for every 1,000 people. According to the C40's goals, the progressive target by 2030 is 190 cars per 1,000 people. Their optimum target is zero. Let that sink in. The C40 organisation wants zero car ownership by 2030. I reiterate, I want to say this is not some conspiracy theory. This is published information in their own reports on their website. Next, please. So who is pushing this agenda? The C40 website lists major funders and partners. I don't have time here to go into all of these and highlight the obvious conflicts of interest here. I will highlight a few in their track records. We've got American Express, FedEx, L'Oreal and IKEA. And they all score extremely poorly, including negative marks in many categories on the ethical consumer site, which highlights their poor record regarding pollution, toxins, animal testing, factory farming, workers' rights, habitats and resources, and irresponsible marketing. Ethical consumer actually goes as far as advocating for a boycott call against American Express. They also score extremely poorly regarding environmental reporting, political activities, anti-social finance, arms and military supply, human rights, and climate change. These are companies financing C40 cities. We have Open Society Foundation, founded by George Soros. Here's a Newsmax article of George Soros' 6 biggest controversies, another man funding C40 cities. There are so many examples of corrupt and unethical organisations sponsoring this agenda, which I wish I had time to go into today. One can't help but question if all of this is really about saving the environment. I challenge you to look into other organisations listed on the C40 website and try and find an ethical organisation funding or partnering with the C40 cities without ulterior motives. In summary, it would appear we have some questionable people and organisations with dubious environmental and human rights credentials pushing through the C40 agenda of smart cities and 15-minute cities under the guise of climate change and environmental protection. You, our representatives, have a responsibility to look into these organisations and start seriously questioning who is pushing the ideology behind these agendas and why. Finish with this. Further, you really need to answer why 15-minute city infrastructure and projects like cycleways are the focus for resources during a cost of living crisis. When rates are increasing, when our farmers are struggling to cope, and when our town's businesses are suffering. This doesn't make sense.
Thank you.